brought some things for you to sign too before I go.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to do it now. You can do it.
Well, you better let me sign them now.
And I can fill out everything else if you
Okay.
just sign it.
Okay.
It's, let's see, you want me to get you something?
Yes, give me the paper. Where do I sign
Let's see, you sign right on that one there. And then I'll fill in all the other
it?
stuff.
Oh, my.
Oh, is it not writing?
Oh, it is.
Okay. This is for me to take notes on. Thank you.
Sure.
Just set that back.
What do you need?
Yeah.
Now, are you at school?
I am. I just started. I went to UNCC for my undergraduate
Right.
in mass media communication.
Oh, yes, okay.
And I'm from Charlotte. So I did an internship at the Landmarks Commission, and that's how I met Dr. Morrow.
Oh, I see, yeah.
So then I decided, well, I'm not going to get a better job. You know, it's
Right now,
I've
right.
pretty much reached my ceiling, so I
Yeah.
said I'll go back and study history because I've
Mhm.
always really liked it.
Oh, I love history too.
And when I was thinking about, you know, what to work on for a
Mhm.
master's, when I was there in undergraduate, I always really liked the quad buildings, you
Mhm.
know, those first
Yeah.
buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to know more about them.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned through the Landmarks Commission that they were A.G. Odell. And
Mm-hmm. Yes.
so I thought, well, that could
He
be.
designed the campus initially and laid out the plan for it, and then they modified it as they went along. But he did, and he had designated the site for those buildings, and his initial intent, if you look at them, was to sort of have the windows to be the signature. But that once they went to another architect, they didn't pay attention to what he had done with the windows, and so.
You mean they were to be the centerpiece, sort of?
Well, he thought that would sort of tie the whole campus together, and he didn't have any. He didn't have. I guess Odell never thought about building a tower for the library. I guess he never got that far thinking about it because the library was just that low building, you know. And he ought to have known if we were becoming a major university, you'd have to have, you know, for the stacks and everything. You couldn't get by with nothing. But anyway.
I guess that was for later
Yes,
on.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, but I always did. I thought those buildings were just so
Mm-hmm.
interesting looking.
Yes, right.
So then for my thesis, I have the paper part,
Mhm.
and then I'm public history, so they make you do a project.
Mm.
And I thought for my project I'd do a documentary,
Mm-hmm.
and instead of the paper will be more academic and
Sure,
more
right, yes. Right.
But the video I want to be more about the people.
Oh, yeah,
behind
well,
the
that's
school.
great. Mm-hmm. Wonderful.
So, when did you come to? Did you come after it was Charlotte? After Charlotte?
I came the year before it became. I came the last year it was Charlotte College. The year before it became a campus of the university. Miss Cunningham helped me here then, and she wanted me to build. They had an area of philosophy which had 2 classes, and an area of religious studies which had 2 classes, and she wanted me to build those into departments and majors. And there are a lot of people who had come here, like 2 guys had come from Pfeiffer College, and they weren't, well, they both went to church, but they really weren't oriented toward church, and they didn't like the idea of having religious studies. And every time I'd propose a class in religious studies, they'd stand up and move that it be referred back to the executive committee, and the executive committee decide, rethink the whole question as to whether or not we should even have religious classes or not. And I'd have to stand up and move that was out of order, and Miss Cunningham would have to rule in my favor. Oh, God, I tell you, I'd have a headache every time. I used to have migraines. I still do once in a while, but I'd have a migraine every time we had before the faculty meetings were over. It was just dreadful. But anyway.
Why didn't he want?
I don't understand that, because they both came here from Pfeiffer College,
Right.
and both of them I know went to church, but they just thought that the university didn't need classes in religious studies. So anyway, Miss Cunningham brought me there to build them. So I said to her, I think we ought to do philosophy first, since there's this opposition to it, and she agreed with me. And so we built philosophy first and got it up to so we had people in the major areas of philosophy that we wanted to have, and then made it a separate department and a department and got its major approved and all that. And then I started building religious studies, and then I got that all done.
So it sort of eased you into it.
Yes, right. And by that time, they'd gotten accustomed to me and realized I wasn't going to be a pulpit thumping or whatever teacher, and that I would really have strict standards and all that sort of stuff. It weren't going to be crypt courses. But anyway, so that's that.
So you came in like 64.
Yes.
Okay. And how did that happen? How did you?
Well, see, I had I went to Duke and Duke Divinity School, and then I didn't want to immediately go into. I didn't want to go into the church. I wanted really to go abroad and study and teach, and so I applied and got a job at the American University in Cairo, and they gave me a contract for 3 years, and I got the draft board's permission to sign the contract and everything. And in the middle of the first year, in the spring of that year, we started shelling the islands of Quemoy and Matsu off the coast of China. And I guess the draft board thought they might have to have, we might go to war and they would have to draft people. So they sent me a letter, which they put a 3-cent stamp on, which means it came by ship instead of coming by air. And so I got it about 2 months later than I should have gotten it, telling me to report for pre-induction physical. And so I, of course, didn't show up. And one of my friends was called at the same time, and the guy said, "Does anybody know where Witherspoon is?" And my friend said, he held up his hand. He said, "Where is he?" And he said, "He's in Egypt." He said, "Okay, funny boy, when I get you in your Uncle Sam's army, you'll think you're in Egypt." And so he said he learned to keep his mouth shut and not to volunteer any information. But anyway, I wrote them back and I said, when you put a 3-cent stamp on your letter, it takes months to get here because it goes on a ship. So send your letters to me airmail, please. Well, they just kept putting 3-cent stamps on, so we had all this mess. And I think finally they decided. I kept telling them that I had a letter with me, and they had a copy of it, telling me that unless we went to war or the president declared a national emergency, they would not bother me. And I said, "Why are you bothering me?" And so, and I think they began to think they may have to pay for me. Oh, and they wrote me, and I said, also, well then, my friend Bill, I met him there in Egypt, and he was doing naval research. And there was this whole naval unit there, and it had been there since the Second World War, but the Army had started it. And the Army wanted to give it up, so the Navy kept it up because they were wanting to try out pharmaceuticals that were being developed here for diseases that they have there. So in case we ever put troops in those areas, we'd know what to do if they got sick. And so I met Captain Galloway, who was head of the unit, and I said, "Captain Galloway, the draft board is giving me a fit." I said, "For God's sakes, can I have them to send you through the diplomatic pouch to the ambassador their forms, and you can fill them out and have one of your doctors to give me an exam?" He said, "I do it all the time." I said, "Okay." So I wrote them. So then they wrote me back. Now this is how dumb they were. They said, "We don't have any evidence that," and I'd given them the evidence. "We don't have any evidence that there's anything in Cairo, and if you go into Europe, you might as well come home." Now anybody doesn't have any more sense that, you could go to Greece overnight from from Alexandria. I had to go all the way back to the state. So I think they got to thinking more and more about it, and they thought, well, I might make them, I guess is what happened. They finally decided, I guess, that I might make them pay for my coming home. And so then they wrote me after I had resigned, and the university said, "Well, would I stay and teach summer school?" And I said, "Yes, I would." And so in the meantime, I wrote the bishop, and I said, "I can't do anything with this crazy draft board, and I'm not going to go into the Army." And I said, "I've got to come home, and I haven't applied even to a graduate school, so there's no way I can get to graduate school for a couple of years. I've got to get the money together anyway. And so would you please appoint me as an associate minister?" And it just so happened that Myers Park Methodist Church was looking for an associate minister, so they appointed me here. Well, Miss Cone went to the Myers Park Baptist Church, but many of the people in my church were good friends of hers, and my great friends in the church were Mr. and Mrs. Ross Pewitt. And they sort of took me under their wing. And so Mr. and Miss Pewitt would often have well, Mr. Pewitt would all play golf all the time, but they would go to the Charlotte Country Club. It was before the other club was built, and later when that club was built, then they went down to the one in the southeast Charlotte. Anyway, we would go there almost every Sunday and have lunch with Mrs. Pewitt, and she would have me and Bonnie to come and have lunch with her. And so that's how I got to know Miss Cohn so well. And so then Miss Cohn finally decided she wanted me to come and teach, and so she asked me if I would do that, and I told her I would. So anyway.
So at that point, she was still.
Well, she was still the president. She was the president of Charlotte College, and so I went away and got my PhD, and so then the Pewitt said to Mrs. Pewitt said to me to come down and have lunch with her and Bonnie, and so then I was teaching out in South Dakota, and so after I went back from South Dakota, Mrs. Pewitt called me and she said, "Loy, Bonnie wanted to know if you would be interested in coming here." And I said, "Oh, I'd love to come." And so she said, she gave me a form to fill out, application, but I didn't realize she was going to act on it right away because I didn't realize she had the money or whatever. And so Miss Pewitt called me one Sunday and she said, "Loy, Bonnie said you haven't sent her your application yet." I said, "Oh, I didn't know there was any urgency about it." She said, "Yes, she'd like to have it right away." I said, "Oh, okay, I'll send it to her right away." And so then she immediately offered me a job, and so I left. I was out there only 1 year. I thought I'd be there for 3 years at least. And so so I came back to Charlotte and came here, and I was living over near the large high school, which the name I can't think of right now. Anyway, and so then Carlson started developing this, and Jim Raymer had come down here from New York. He hadn't finished his PhD at Columbia to be our librarian, and so we got to be good friends, and we were great friends with Miss Cohn. We'd always have dinner with her and everything frequently, and so we decided when Carlson started developing this, he was putting them on 80 front feet or something, and we said, "Oh, that's too close to be to anybody," so we asked him if we could buy 3 lots and divide the middle lot so that we'd have a bigger yard and everything. So he let us do that. And so then Jim designed and built that house, and I designed and had this one built. Carlson built both of our homes, but anyway. So
were you excited to
oh,
come
yes.
to Charlotte?
Oh, yes, I was. I liked Charlotte, and of course I love Miss Cohn, and she was just so great, and it was wonderful to work with her, and so we just became the closest of friends.
What was she like?
Oh,
Everybody says such great things about her.
well, they're all true. They're all true. She was incredible in that she had this dream of this university even before it was a university, and at the end of the Second World War, they knew that because they had the GI Bill, North Carolina knew that it would have to provide places for them to go to school, and so they had a University of North Carolina, it was called, at Charlotte, and they had them all the major cities. Asheville had one, Wilmington had one, Winston-Salem had one. There were 7 or 8, and they had some for blacks because they still were segregated, and so they had one in Elizabeth City and one in Fayetteville, and seems like there's one maybe in Greensboro that they created for the blacks who could come back and go, and so then after I can't remember now whether it was 3 or 4 years, but it wasn't much longer than that. The state decided that they could accommodate all the people now they had enlarged the other campuses, and so they started closing them down. Wilmington kept theirs open, and Asheville decided to keep theirs open, and Miss Cohn persuaded Charlotte to keep Charlotte open, and they were just sort of like junior colleges for several years. But Miss Cohn's idea was that it would become a university, and so she kept working and pushing, and she had the outstanding business and professional people in town to be on her board of trustees, and they knew what a great person she was and what her vision was, and they bought into her vision, and we were the largest metropolitan area of this size anywhere in the United States that did not have a major university. And so she persuaded them that we needed to have a university here. And so when the state started closing down college, they said, no, we're not going to close down Charlotte College. And so she gradually made it into a 4-year institution, and it has become a 4-year institution the year that I, in fact, came. And so she made me, she still had advisors for the senior class, and I was the advisor to the senior class, and I don't remember now, there weren't more than maybe 30 people if there were in the first graduating class. And but anyway, and so the president of the class was a woman, and she came to me and she said, Dr. Witherspoon, she said, it's the custom for the senior class to give a gift to the university. And she said, what in the world can we give? And I said, the only thing that needs to be given and nobody else could give. And she said, what's that? And I said, Miss Cohn's portrait. And she said, oh, Dr. Witherspoon, we can't get that money. I said, you just go to Miss Cohn and tell her that that's what you want to give as the senior class president to the college. And you let me worry about getting the money, and I'll get the portrait artist and get it painted, and I'll get the money, but it'll be your gift to the university. You can raise as much money as you want to, but don't worry about that. I'll get the money, and I'll get that. But we need to have Miss Cohn's portrait painted. And so she went to Miss Cohn, and Miss Cohn said, okay, she would have it painted, and so that's how we happened to have her portrait over there. I think it's in the Cohn Center. Mm-hmm. And so that's how we got that portrait, and so anyway.
That was the first class gift.
Mm-hmm.
When it was the university.
Yes, right. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know whether they still give gifts or not. I don't think they do. But anyway, there was another class, and the president of that class was a boy from Florida, and he thought, oh, we ought to have a fountain. So they wanted to put a fountain in that little, it's not even a lake now. There used to be a lake over there when you're...
It's dry.
And it's dried up now practically. I know, but it used to be a big lake. And so they put a fountain in that lake for a while, but now it's just terrible. I don't know why they decided to drain it and leave it like it is. It's just a mess.
I asked one of the librarians about that, and she said she thought there was water coming under the street.
Well, I think they thought that, and they'd have to do something. But, I mean, that could be taken care of. That's just crazy. But I guess it's just too much of a problem, so they just leave it alone and leave it like that. But I think it's terrible because it was such a pretty lake when it was a lake. It was a nice lake.
And I was looking into this architecture stuff more, and so he did St. Andrews also.
Yes, he did.
You know, and
yes.
They had a lake too.
Yes, right, yes.
That's something how similar those plans were.
Yes, right, yes.
And somebody told me there used to be swans. Dr. Heck.
Yes, Dr. Heckenbleichner had swans. Yes. And, beautiful white swans. They're so beautiful. But they went away too. When the water was draining practically, there was nowhere for them to be, so they just flew away. And they might be somewhere else in this area where there is a lake, but they had a couple of hatchings and had little swans and everything, but they've all gone. Right. But anyway, it was a great idea, and it's changed, and it will change even farther. But it's a great university, and it will continue to grow and be a great university, even greater university than it is. I'm convinced. It's in too critical a place. We keep getting good leaders. Dr. Woodward was very strong, and I think Dr. Dubois is going to be strong, and so I think we'll do well.
And she had that from early on. She had
the vision and everything, right? She laid the foundation for it and everything.
Hard to wrap your mind around, being able to see all that.
Yes. Oh, yes, exactly. Right.
And know that this area needed that.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Right. But it was, as I said, it was the largest metropolitan area in the United States. Its size that didn't have a university, and so there was no way she was going to let it die when they wanted to close it down. Change it from just And she started a 4-year institution, and then her idea was to have this whole university. And then she realized that there wasn't enough space down Central Piedmont. But now Central Piedmont's made it they've got buildings all over everywhere. But in the day she was there, Miss Cohn couldn't. She didn't think she could get the property there, and so that's why. And she thought they ought to have, the state had a requirement. They had 8 or 10 requirements, and the first requirement was that you had to have 1,000 acres. And I know Dr. Dubois was downtown talking when they built the building. There's a 9-story building downtown, you know. And when he went down there to dedicate the laying of the foundation and everything, he said, "Well, we're back downtown where we ought to have been all along." And I said, I wrote him a note. I said, "Dr. Dubois, you don't realize the history of this institution." I said, "We're where we are because the first requirement for establishing a new campus of the University of North Carolina was that we have 1,000 acres. So Miss Cohn had to go out there and persuade those farmers to sell her acreage." And I said she only got 300 and some, and she kept buying up additional acreage until she got to 1,000. And I said she was so assiduous in her efforts to get the 1,000 acres that the farmers out there said Miss Cohn doesn't want all the land in Mecklenburg County. She just wants all the land in Mecklenburg County that's next to the land she already has. They were just crazy. But anyway, that's how. So we got the 1,000 acres, and oh dear God.
Yeah, and I'll hear people say that, well, it's all the way out there. It's so far out there.
Yeah, I know.
don't think, well, she knew that it wasn't just going to serve kids from Charlotte, veterans from Charlotte. It was to serve
the whole
people
area.
from Annapolis,
Right,
people from,
yes, everywhere.
and it was
people
easy.
come down here from Catawba County, from Gastonia, everywhere people come here. Yeah, and then people started coming from other states. So we have a lot of them, and we even have international students. We have, so it was a great thing.
What do you think she'd think of it now if she could see it now? What would she think?
Oh,
of how it was
she
when
would be
left?
so pleased. She would be so pleased. She would be happy. She would realize that it's beginning to realize what her dream was for it. Yeah. And we have all these different colleges now, and lots of graduate students. And,
I think part for me, what makes her so incredible is I can't, just from what you hear and what you read, being a woman in those times was hard anyway.
It was.
And to be a mathematician,
Yeah.
she was more than just a teacher.
Oh, she was. Right.
I can't imagine how hard she must have worked.
She worked very hard. Worked hard all the time. She worked night and day. She was really, but she knew that was the only way she could do it, And she got strong people, real outstanding leaders in town, like Murray Atkins. He was one of the big financial people, and Mr. Rowe was a very important person in town, and he was, the treasurer, and she used to tell me. The night before they had to make a report to the board of trustees, he would always make Miss come to his house at night after he'd worked, and she'd worked all day, and she'd have to go over everything in the budget, his budget report, and if he had any questions, and he would think of all the possible questions that people would ask him, he wanted her to tell him, now what is the correct answer to this question in case somebody asks me this question, because I don't want to say I don't know, or I don't want to turn to you in the meeting and say, Miss Cohn, can you help me with what the answer to this question is? So she had to, prep him every month, and she had to do all those things for all these men. But they really loved her, and so she didn't have any trouble getting the people in town that she wanted to serve on the board, and she felt that there should be other women on the board, and so there was a woman who was. From Concord, and her husband was a big Chevrolet dealer, I believe. He died, but this woman was on the board, and she then became a member of the legislature, and that was another thing. Miss Cohn had to relate to the legislature and keep them apprised of what we were wanting to do, and so on. So she was great at doing that too.
So she'd recruit who she wanted.
Yes. Really.
She must have been a very warm person.
She
is what
was.
people
She really was.
say about her.
Yes. She was very warm and friendly. Yes. Very approachable. Made you feel very comfortable in her presence, and she was just a remarkable, remarkable woman.
What are some of the things you remember from your teaching there? Are there any?
At the university? Oh, my.
Jump out at you? If there's anything.
Oh, there are a lot. But, let's see what I could tell you that might be of interest to you. Well, I was 3 times president of the faculty, I think I told you. I'm the only person that ever did that, had enough sense to do that over the years. And
Is that what the mallet's from, or is that from a different?
yes, no, those are all from, that's from one time when I was, you can see, that was a thing, and you can see. That Greg Davis was a black professor, and he was one of my students. We sent him away, and he went to Duke, and then he came back and taught for us for a long time, and so they made Greg Davis Award, and then they gave that to me one year, and I was chairman of the American Red Cross here, the Charlotte chapter of the American Red Cross. And I got that. They had they give a NCNB bank award, and so the first year it was given, they wanted to give it to 3 of us, and they said no, they just wanted to give it to one person, so they gave it to Dr. Seth Ellis, and then the next year they gave it to me and Mary Ambry, who taught math for us for a while, and professor who taught English. His name I can't remember right now. And so that was the plaque that we got when we were nominated. Now they give them a big thing downtown and lots of money, and I don't know what all. But anyway,
Changed a bit.
yes, it's changed quite a bit. Right, that's right. And Mr. Charles Tucker was a great friend of the University of Nevada, and we have a lot of his paintings. And this is a copy of one of his paintings, which he used to have over his fireplace in his home. And I just loved the little boy and his dog and his little painting.
Art
and so,
set.
and so I had a copy of it made for me. There's a place here in Charlotte where you can go, and they know how to make exact copies of things like that. And so I had that done.
Wow.
And, so I have a good picture of Miss Cone, but it's up in my bedroom. But you've probably seen it. Well, I'll show it to you before you go out. Anyway.
You can always take a picture of a picture.
Yeah.
Nice to be able to do that with all this
right.
stuff.
Okay. Well, if you would like to see that picture.
I'd love to see
Okay.
it.
Well, let's go up there and look at it now, because
Okay.
I might forget.
Let me just grab this.
Okay. After her father died, I had come up here to stay with Miss Cone, so she wanted to be near the church, so her mother could get to church, and if someone wasn't in town to take her, she could walk. And
So she was close to the church.
so she was close to the Myers-Park Baptist
Okay.
Church, and so then we persuaded her to come out here. And so I said to her, "Might let me talk to Mr. Tucker, not Mr. Tucker. Anyway, the architect." And I said about building a house, and so he said to me, well, does Bonnie have a lot? And I said, yes. He said, well, where is it? And I said, well, I'll show it to you. And so I took him over there, and there was a big gully that was about at the backside of the lot, but it was a huge thing. And he said, Lord, did they give Miss Gomez? I said, no, she paid dear for this lot. I said, I hate to tell you what she paid for this lot. And he said, well, he said, she wouldn't want to have the house that I think ought to go on this lot. I said, well, how do you know? I said, what kind of house do you think she would want to have? And he said, oh, I think she'd want an antebellum home. I said, Miss Gomez wouldn't want an antebellum home. He said, are you sure? I said, I'm positive. I said, she'd want a very modernistic house that would fit perfectly designed for this. And he said, well, I would want to build something like a toadstool, but it would be square or rectangular. And so I said, well, I think she would love it. And so that's what he did, built this part, and then he came up, and then the main floor is way out like this, you know, and she has a little enclosed garden. She had a little enclosed garden at one side, and her master bedroom had sliding glass doors that looked, and she could go out from there, or they had sliding glass doors from, you came into her kitchen, and it was a large kitchen, and there was a nice sitting area there, and then you could go out into the garden from the kitchen area, and then she had, her living room was a big living room like this, and then with an L for the dining table, and she had a big fireplace in it, and then she her bedroom, and she had a sitting room then, and then her private bath and everything. And then downstairs she has 2 bedrooms and a bath downstairs, plus a big storage area downstairs. So she had a very nice house, and she was very comfortable, and she was very happy in it when we got her into it. She was so glad. But I was over Mr. Tuck said, Bonnie wouldn't live in the house that I designed for this space.
I wonder why he thought she'd want it.
I don't know. He
Maybe
just thought
she's from South Carolina.
Yeah, right. And that's what she'd want to have. And I said, no, she would be glad. Oh, man. He ought to know, looking at the school, how contemporary it was, that she would be happy with something very contemporary. But anyway. Well, anyway, you wanted to talk about, I don't know what you wanted to talk about, but maybe you wanted to ask me questions or something.
Well, I'm just enjoying talking about
Okay.
Bonnie Cohen.
Yes, right.
Yeah. But, because I wondered that when I drove by her house, I thought, I wonder if Odell did her house too. But Dr. Moore said he didn't think that.
Well, it was somebody in his office who actually did it, but it was under his supervision. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah. Murray Whitnett was actually the architect, but he worked in Odell's office.
And Murray Wisnett did the road building.
I think he did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm going to speak next week with someone who worked there. His name is Walter Boast.
Oh,
He worked on the plans for the school.
Mm-hmm. Good.
But he said, he didn't work on a whole lot of residential.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no.
But I think that houses like that, real modern, are real interesting. The way they bring the outside sort of in.
Yes, right. That's exactly right. Yes. Right.
She went to Coker College.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, it was an all-girls school in South Carolina.
I was listening to one of those interviews I think Ed Purcell did with her, and
Yes.
she'd said she wanted to go to Winthrop.
Yes.
But a neighbor talked her parents out of it because they said it was a big
Yes, it's a big school, and Coker was a little Baptist school, Baptist related. I think Winthrop might have been Baptist related too, but Coker was a smaller school, and they thought that's what she ought to do.
She said in her interview, she said, well, I think I could have handled Winthrop.
Yeah, that's right. She could have, I'm sure.
And you both went to Duke.
Yes,
so that
right.
was a
Yes,
common.
yes, that's right. Yeah, we had a lot of things in common. She was a great, great lady. And she had all kinds of talents that you just can't imagine, so that she knew how to get the things accomplished that she felt should be done, and in a nice, tactful way, so that people were happy and were glad to help her achieve the goals that she felt were crucial. And that takes a lot of skill.
was it like teaching there in those earlier years? What was the feeling among other teachers there?
Well, there were just, we all knew each other very well, and we had a nice esprit de corps, I think, a good spirit, and we all caught Miss Cohn's dream and thought it was an honor to work with her and to try to help her achieve what she had dreamed of having there. And she was always very supportive of ideas that you came up with, and so it was really, those were wonderful, wonderful days. We had to work hard, and we couldn't always get all the financial money from the legislature that we wanted, but we got enough to get things started and pushing them in the direction that we wanted, so that we'd have to go ahead and later expand on them, and so on. So it was remarkable, and it was very challenging, but very rewarding. Sometimes you weren't sure how are we going to get this done, or are we going to get this done, but you just keep pushing until you did get it done. And that's the way Miss Cohn was too. Oh man.
How do you think it was similar or different from other schools, other higher education schools of that time that were like Wilmington or?
Mm-hmm. Well, I was never at Wilmington, but I just felt that there was one Miss Cohn. And I don't really know. I had friends who lived in Wilmington, and in fact, one of my best friends and one of my friends, James Godwin, his first child was a daughter, and I was her godfather, and I would go down and visit them in Wilmington. I would always go down for the Azalea Festival in the spring when James and Betty were alive, and James had gone to Chapel Hill, and I had I grew up at the Methodist Children's Home in Winston-Salem, and there was a kid in the class behind me, Julian King, who played football, and Duke wanted him, and Chapel Hill wanted him, and he ended up going to Chapel Hill, and so he got to know Betty and James, and he introduced me to Betty and James, and that's how I got to know them so well, and it was just it was great. It was a great opportunity, and but I just felt that I knew they were developing Asheville, but they didn't have a Miss Cohn. and neither did Wilmington. But both of them developed very well. Yeah.
One of the things I've started looking through the archives of special collections.
That's good.
And going through her correspondence with presidents of Asheville and Wilmington. And the way that she would ask for their advice on buildings.
Yes,
and,
right.
And something really interesting to me, having not known her, was she would ask for the input of teachers about, well, what do you think of these plans?
That's exactly
And they would write her and say, well, I'm not happy because we need more space here, which to take the time to do that.
Oh, absolutely. And then to follow up on it.
To make sure people are content.
Yes, right. And you're getting the best thing that you can for the dollar that you're trying to get. Right.
Yeah, because she would have them send over, estimates and so she could get her mind around how much.
That's right. Yeah, right. She was remarkable in that regard. You met Bill, or you didn't meet Bill. You heard him screaming the other hour.
Have to get this stuff in. If it was hot as a firecracker out there, the milk is going to be curdled. The eggs are going to be fried.
That'd just be hard boiled. Oh goodness.
But one of the things I'll need to start looking into is, well, people keep telling me you'll need to compare and contrast it to other schools of the time. So,
I guess so.
How was the architect,
Sure, right, yeah.
Because what I'd like to do eventually is, through this written part, somehow show that those buildings are significant, both architecturally and in their associative history.
Right,
and
right, yeah.
maybe have them designated. That's sort of my goal.
Yes, well, that's great.
I just think they're so neat.
Yes, they are. Well, Guglielmo was a great architect. There's no doubt about it. And Miss Cohn was determined, and she got the best architect she could get, and she followed through with what they recommended. When I came here, there was just a little bit of what we call the Cohn Center built, and then the Macy and parallel buildings were at Macy and
Winningham?
Winningham, right. And then we built the one for the school principal, Garinger, and then they built the one that was named for Mary Danny, who was our first English teacher, and then Miss Cohn didn't get enough money to do the other building over there, and where to make the whole quadrangle in, and so she got a grant from federal government to build the College of Engineering, and with that money, she got the university got the state to give her the money for the same building, but she took the money from the state to build the Garinger building, so you get that whole quadrangle. Now she just knew how to finagle everything.
So she took the money that was allowed for the engineering.
Yeah, that she got. Yeah, the money that had been granted by the state for the engineering building, since she got money from the federal government to build it, since it was an engineering building, and she then built this other building. But she knew how to get things done. Remarkable, remarkable, remarkable.
How do you think that the city has changed because of the school or the...
Oh, I can't begin to tell you, but it's very clear that it's had an enormous impact on the development of the school. I mean, on the development of the city, and it's probably among the ways it has impacted the city is, in fact, that it was here caused other companies and other people to come and professional development and all that sort of stuff that I think wouldn't have happened if we hadn't had this major university here. Well, are there other questions you want to ask?
I was going to ask if there's anything I haven't asked that you want to say.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No,
Okay. Well, I appreciate your time.
Well,
very
you're
much.
quite welcome. Okay. Appreciate your interest.
Yeah.
Okay.